Welcome back, my Planet Coaster friends. Johnny 5 Alive here, and we're back with another episode of Yeti Land. And in today's episode, we're going to be building our Yeti Land entrance sign for our park, and we're also going to be starting on a new coaster. So stay tuned, and let's check it out. So we're finally back with Yeti Land. It feels good, but this was actually done 2 weekends ago, something like that. No, I worked that weekend. 3 weekends ago? I don't know. It's been a while, let's put it that way. So I managed to squeeze in some time into Yeti Land, and last weekend I had time, but I decided to do the Chief Beef Raceway just because I had such a strong craving to do raceway stuff that's where I decided to go, and I needed a break from Yeti Land, and it was refreshing. So I'm excited to get back into Yeti Land this weekend, and we at least have some footage here that's been lingering and sitting around for you guys. So I'm just going to do my best to follow it. We're at 10 times speed. Sorry about the last video for Chief Beef, guys. It was at 20 times speed. I know some of you guys said it was too fast. I probably could have done a really long episode, but we'll do 10 times from now on. That seems to be the sweet spot. So here I am building the Yeti Land sign. I built it with the words, the funky letters created by, don't know the name off the top of my head, but the letters are called funky letters. So I built the blue letters using funky letters and put Christmas lights all over it to kind of go with our theme. And then I'm back putting some backboards on it for just a rustic feel. We use a lot of wood in Yeti Land, so I thought that would be nice. And now I'm just propping it up because I want to have some like support structures, kind of like the supports that we use for both Darla, building our custom wooden supports, and then also how we built our Yeti Land station. I want to have have it somewhat similar. This area is the entrance, so I want it to scream Yeti Land, but I also want it to be kind of on its own. So we're not going to be covering it with Yetis. It did cross my mind. I thought it would be really cool to have it covered in Yetis, but the Yetis don't come into this side of the map. It's not their territory per se. So it just wouldn't really, it would kind of break the immersion factor for me a little bit. So I want to be able to tell a story with this. Like I said all along, we're telling a story. We're trying to make it as believable as possible. And if the Yetis have their own side of the map, we want to keep them there. So we're just going to make the sign feel rustic to kind of go with the theme of the map, but we're also going to make it somewhat pretty. So we're going to do some nice lighting to it as well. So I'm just building this like kind of big scaffold thingy, and then plugging our sign into the front. So all of that is supporting the sign, and pretty happy with the way it turned out in the end. And then I wanted to do some lighting here, backlight it with some of our pretty blue lights that we use around Yeti Land, and I thought that gave it a pretty good effect. And then we're just jamming it into our cliffside here. It didn't quite fit, so I go in there and I do some editing to the terrain, just mesh it a little bit, mold it, and get it to fit a little bit better. And I'm pretty happy with the end result here. So it's finally good to have our Yeti Land welcome sign. So that's pretty nice, and it's pretty inviting as well. Still got to do some stuff to the cave underneath. I think we'll save that all for when we actually start building the park. We'll leave it empty because if you download this as a scenario, I want you to be able to put whatever you want in there. So for my end goal is probably just put some shops in there and in the cave, just a row on each side, maybe festive looking shops, and just tweaking the colors there, trying to get it just right. And then I felt like I needed to create a bit of a park entrance, and I struggled with this for a little bit while. I don't know if I struggled with it off camera or on camera. I'm pretty sure it's off camera, but I couldn't decide if I wanted to do a building. And honestly, after creating 5 custom train station buildings and a custom station for Darla, that's 6 buildings that I've made for this park, plus the subscriber sign I've done plenty of custom builds for this already, so I've just kind of burnt out of making custom Yeti Land buildings. So I was really just like not sure what I was going to do here because I didn't want it to be flat. So at one point I was thinking about putting someone else's entrance sign there, but then I felt like that really detracted from me making a custom map. Pretty much everything in this map is made by me other than a few small custom gingerbread men and like Santas that we downloaded. So I decided I would go with a nature entrance, use trees, kind of tilt them, rocks, bushes, and that way you're coming through almost like a forest, and then you see the sign. And in the end, I think it looks really welcoming. And I took some screenshots. Hopefully you guys will get a good look at it in the footage here. But when I was taking screenshots and showing the group, they really liked it. And so I left it. I thought it worked out pretty good. So we're just filling it up with rocks, trees, and bushes. And it makes you feel like you're just coming out of a forest. And there's a big giant welcoming sign and a cave. And once this cave is filled up with a few flat rides and a few shops, I think it'll look pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with the way the entrance turned out, and it's good to finally have that entrance in there. So we have the Great War, we have the entrance, we have Darla. We basically just have to do that one little destroyed village where the Yetis are looting. We got that started at least with the gingerbread station and the pile of loot. We have our looters coming from there. So that's pretty much our last task, other than that dive coaster that I wanted to do. So I did decide, there you got to look at it there for half a second. You might want to go back and pause it, but that was kind of the shot where I took the screenshot and looked pretty good, and I'm adding some blue lighting. So anyways, yeah, we're pretty much done with the scenario of Yeti Land, other than building this coaster in that one destroyed gingerbread area, and then some minor tweaks. Oh, and I keep forgetting that I wanted to do something for the inside of that cave. Big pile of candy. I wanted to have a certain ride in there, and a few decorations. And we also have to put some Yetis wandering about the cave, make it a little bit more traffic heavy in terms of Yetis wandering around the cave. So regardless, there's just a few remaining tasks that could probably most of them get done in a day or two if I had enough time to just sit down and plug away at it. So we're getting done with the scenario pretty quick, and I feel like I've said this in earlier episodes, I feel like the park will come together pretty quickly, especially if we're using blueprints from the workshop. So it'll be a matter of placing blueprints, finding good locations for the blueprints, and then just plopping them down and putting some paths and lights around them. And that really goes fast when you're not custom building everything. There might be a few things along the way that I decide to build myself or adjust or tweak, but for the most part, it should be pretty smooth. So here, what I'm doing is building a dive coaster. So this, I got to a certain point, which you'll see at the end of this footage, where I just kind of stepped away from it. I wasn't completely happy with the design, and it was pretty hard to get that track built because it's all underground. And I've never experienced doing an underground coaster like this before. So fighting the camera, trying to get it all to work, it was quite difficult. And, keeping an eye on the ratings and seeing if it's working, if it has enough speed and momentum, it was quite tricky. And I want this to be dropping down into the pit of doom and get a nice shot of all that stuff that's going to be at the bottom when we decorate it. And then the inside of the caves is just going to be kind of like a crystal cavern or an icy cavern. So we can get away with just putting snowy boulders in and use some crystals or basic shapes to make crystals or something, and then fill it up with snow and glitter and blue little mushroom lights and lots of blue lights. And it'll look pretty good, I think. So theming this will probably be not too hard. And I also have the idea of, because the snowmen are getting thrown into the pit, maybe there's a cave in here where I guess the surviving snowmen kind of decided to live down there because they can't get back up. So there's like a little outpost or something where the snowmen have taken shelter underneath in the cave. We'll have to see what kind of camera angles we get, because if I build it and you can't see it because the coaster's going too fast, it'd be a waste. So I'm still indifferent on the idea. And as you can see, it was very difficult building this while I was underground. And now that I've kind of gotten the track just like in, and then I went in after and dug a big hole, I can see the track much clearer, and I can actually go down there now, because it's like one big open cavern, and I can actually, that's kind of where I stopped. I was like, okay, I can see inside here, I can see what's wrong with this coaster, I can see what could be better about this coaster, and then I was just kind of like, what do I do with this? And I was like, I'm gonna go build a raceway. So I get it to a point where it's pretty good, and in my mind right now, I know it's going to be pretty good, and I have some ideas for it. I'm probably going to readjust the track, make some tweaks to it, put some more spirals in there, maybe a few inversions, and just kind of switch it up a bit. I'm going to lower some of the spirals. It just needs a lot of tuning and some fidgeting. So I'm going to get it to a point where I'm happy with it. Probably going to be doing that this weekend, hopefully, and then the theming should come pretty quickly after that. So it's not the most complicated coaster, and it wasn't meant to be. The whole idea is just like you dive into the pit of death, and that should be the main experience there. So if the coaster's going through all this other stuff and doing all this crazy stuff, then it should be a short coaster is what I'm getting at. It doesn't need to be like a crazy Darla. It's just a nice, I guess, extra to Yeti Land. And, excuse me. It's a nice extra to Yeti Land, and I like the idea of having like an underground cave to Yeti Land. It gives us an extra place to explore in Yeti Land, and so I'm going with it. And it doesn't need to be the most exciting coaster, but I'm gonna tweak the settings until I can get it to at least in the green and make sure it's still good. I don't want to make any bad coasters, so I have to make it at least acceptably fun, and then I should be able to make it also themed pretty good. Like I said earlier, it should have a nice theme. It'll have some good moments, but it's not going to be this crazy Voyager coaster that Darla was. So I'm pretty happy with the concept, the way it looks and the way it turned out. But like I said, once I've dug a big hole in there and I can see in there, and I'm working with it a little bit more, I know it needs a lot of adjustments. So the basic layout, the basic shape, and what it's doing, I guess the rough copy is pretty decent. And after some major adjustments and some theming, I'm pretty confident that it'll be a fun coaster. Young Jamie, which you guys he's going to be featured on a Spotlight, who did the Pizza Pen. He volunteered to make me a Yeti Land station, a station for this Coaster of Doom. I also need a name for this coaster, so if you guys are watching this and you have an idea, let me know down in the comments. Like, I don't know what this pit is. I called it like the Pit of Death, or that's what I'm calling it right now. I'm indifferent on that. It's what I just came up with, and I thought it would be just a fitting name for it. So when I put the station on top of this, it's going to need a sign saying what the coaster is called. So if you guys have any ideas for a name for this coaster, I just might be calling it the Pit of Death or the Pit of Doom or something like that, or Yeti Falls. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, throw me some ideas, because if you guys throw me an idea that I really like, I'll make a sign for that, and I'll be cool with that. So Jamie has created a station for it. He volunteered, so I showed him the size of the station and the size of the drop coming out of it. So he's built a really nice like wood cabin covered in snow, and it's fitting to all the signs that we've made in Yeti Land. It's kind of built all out of wood. It's very rustic, and it's got this really nice cabin feel to it, and it's very suitable to Yeti Land. And he's even put a little bit of skulls and skeletons around it, because it's like this old abandoned shack next to the Pit of Death. So he made it look a little bit grim as well. and I think it's a really great station. So thank you to Jamie for creating that. You guys won't see that in this episode, but you'll see it in the next episode when I actually put it down and I go back and I make the final tweaks to the coaster. I decorate the coaster, and then I'll probably do like a small presentation video on the coaster, so you guys will see the making of it, and then you'll get to ride it right after that episode. So I'm really happy that Jamie decided to make me a station for this coaster, because as I mentioned earlier in this episode, that I was just burnt out from making all these custom train stations and buildings for everything, and after doing like 7 or 8 of them, I'm just like, ugh, I can't do it anymore. So really happy that you did that for me, Jamie, so thank you. And I think you did a fantastic job based off the screenshots I saw. I'm probably gonna have to do some lighting tweaks to it and different things, but I think it's a really nice addition to Yeti Land. He also made another one a long time ago that was built for a Barghest coaster, and it's really nice. It's a little bit destroyed and worn down, but it fits very well to Yeti Land, and I probably will be using that to make a smaller coaster when we get to building the park for Yeti Land, and it's going to be my little bunny hopper coaster, or I guess like Snow Fox, and the Snow Fox jumps up into the air and then down into the snow, and that's kind of what the coaster is going to be doing. And his little station is quite perfect for that, so I might use that in the future. We'll see. And you can see here that I'm opening up the cave now, and I'm just kind of like getting rid of everything. And this is kind of like where I got frustrated, and we're getting close to the end of the footage, because now I really feel like I could rework the entire track a bit, and because I couldn't see what was going on when I was above ground. So now I'm just thinking like I could approach it from different angles and different ideas. But that's generally it for this episode, guys. The footage is ending pretty quickly here. So in the next episode, we're going to finish this coaster, and hopefully I'll get to do that this weekend. I just wanted to get you guys out something, because it's been a while since we did Yeti Land, so hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, and I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Yeti Land. Alright, everybody, bye now.